So please help me welcome one of Oklahoma's internationally acclaimed innovators and the Journal Record's 2010 Innovator of the Year from Elliott & Associates, Rand Elliott.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it very much. Say thanks to my patent attorney. Thank you, David. This is a guy that has a really fun time. He gets to see cool ideas every day of the week from interesting people like everybody here in this audience tonight. So I feel really fortunate. We've been talking about all kinds of interesting things as we've gone through this process. As they handed me this mic with this strange thing here, and I'm not normally in this sort of environment, to say the least. I feel like I'm in Vegas, and Jeanette said, Rand, you look like Madonna. And I thought, well, I don't quite understand that comment, but I think she meant the mic. Oh, okay, thank you, honey. She meant the mic, and I do like her music, but... So I'm in an interesting environment. In fact, I'm going to make a comment later here about being in uncomfortable situations, being outside of your comfort zone, and I'm exactly there right now. So we can all share that. But I really appreciated his comments, and this is one of the most exciting and interesting presentations I think that goes on in our community, maybe on a regional basis. And when I come to this event, I always feel this incredible creative energy from this room, and all the people. I can imagine sort of sparks flying among people with great ideas and stuff. And David and I just looked at the napkins, and they're really some fun stuff. And we got an interesting note from Jim Roth. Where is he? Over here. And I'm not going to tell you about that, but we almost gave him the award. But I'll go on with that. On March 14th, I called Mary and said, I know I get the opportunity to do this event, and what would you like for me to talk about? And she thought for just a couple of minutes, and she said, Rand, you could be anywhere. Why did you stay in Oklahoma City? And I just thought, that's a very interesting question. And I said, can I talk about that? And she said, sure. So what I'm going to share with you is an interesting story. But first I need to tell you that the second thing she said was that the stage that you're standing on has a small trap door in it. And if you talk longer than 15 minutes, you'll just disappear in front of all of these important people. So I'm thinking about that every moment of my comments here. And if I start to talk really fast at the end, you'll know why I'm doing that. What I'm going to do is spend 15 minutes or so and share with you something personal. And it's a life lesson, is what it is tonight. We're going to talk about a life lesson. Now, the next comment I'm going to make is that for those of you that were even around in 1983, we're going to scroll back to 1983. And I've got my little clicker here, so I need this. 1983. If you were around in 1983 in Oklahoma City, it was a very tough time. I mean, tough. This is not for wimps. It was really tough. And I see some people shaking their head like, we made it, right? I mean, we made it, and that's a good thing. It was a Friday, and I had 22 people in my office, and business just stopped. Somebody threw on the brakes. It just stopped. This is Friday. On Monday, there wasn't 22 of us, there were 4. And I'm telling you this story, and it just gives me chills to tell you this, because it was about the most awful thing I've ever done in my whole life, which was to lay off all of those friends. And some of those friends are here tonight, and to them, I'm sorry. It wasn't something I did on purpose. It was a condition way beyond what I could do. In 1983, interestingly enough, we had 83 projects on our job list. Kind of interesting. But the important part was that of the 83 projects on our job list, only 18 came to fruition. Only 18. And I was really happy about those. And I'm going to show you some of these. These are actually from 1983. This is Primetime Travel at Waterford. I don't know how many of you ever been to Primetime Travel at Waterford. Ron Perry, bless his heart, he hired us at that time. And the idea about travel was space. And so we did this cool photograph from NASA about Saturn. Cool little area where you'd learn about, the sort of telltale part of this is the TV. Our TVs don't look exactly like this today. The second project I'm eternally grateful for is Angus McQueen hired us to do Ackerman McQueen's new offices in the tower. This is the 21st floor in their video conference space. And again, a wonderful, very exciting, and very creative group of people here. And I was very thankful. This is their presentation room, and I'm sure many of you have been in this space. Again, the TVs are a little dated here. You try not to date photographs, but these are really kind of telling the truth. And then we had these two little fabulous prefab bank buildings. A really good friend of mine and business partner, James Pickle, and I created a company that built these prefab buildings. And we did one for National Bank of Commerce, and we did one for First City Bank. And these were things that we'd build in a shop or in a manufacturing facility and take them to buildings. They were called ATM buildings. Remember that? They were called ATM buildings. Well, the fun thing about this photograph that I want to focus on a minute is that this is actually not in a real location. We did railroad ties here to simulate a real location, and we couldn't afford a model, so I'm the guy in the car driving up to the ATM and with my hand sticking out, and so anyway, it's funny, I'd forgotten about that photograph until now. But I would tell you that in 1983 I was grateful for every single one of these jobs. Bless their hearts, it gave us opportunities to have some work when others didn't. At that particular point in my life, I'd started my company in 1976. I convinced Jeanette to marry me, which was the best thing I ever did. There was this notion in my mind that, boy, it's really bad in Oklahoma City. I mean, really awful. I think I need to leave. I think this is it. I'm done. I'm going to do something else. And so I made these arrangements with Philip Johnson. I don't know how many of you know much about architecture, but it's a pretty important guy in New York City in a building called the Seagrams Building. And I decided that I was going to interview with Philip, and I did. This is a photograph in 1983 of Jeanette and I walking along Fifth Avenue. In fact, ironically, the building to the left, kind of in the dark shadow, is the original Flatiron Building. And for those of you who know where my office is, you know that I love Flatiron buildings, but it brings back some wonderful memories. I had my interview with Philip Johnson, the most famous architect in the world at that particular time. And I'd gone through this interview, and he actually offered me the job. And it was one of those moments where I just started trembling. It was just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And he said, well, looks good. I like your credentials. I think you'd fit in well in our office in New York City. And when can you start? And one of those moments when I said, oh, Mr. Johnson, I have another interview, and I need to fulfill that obligation. And he said, well, great, but I can't wait very long. You need to call me back. And I said, okay. I really didn't have another interview. I wish I did, but I didn't. And so I left there, and I went downstairs, and the Seagrams Building is along Park Avenue. And I sat on the plaza there, and I remember all the limousines going by. It was just really busy and stuff, and delivery people and couriers going by on bicycles. And I saw this man walk by, and as I was sitting there, and he kind of went through the trash looking for lunch, I think, and just sort of this dichotomy of, you know, the best and the worst of things going on. And I realized that I was at a crossroads in my life. I needed to make some sort of decision. I had these few minutes there. The next day I called him back and I said, Mr. Johnson, I really appreciate the offer, and that's a wonderful thing, and you've fulfilled a very special dream for me, but I can't take the job. And he said, why not? You were just here. And I said, well, I've had a change of thought. I'm going back to Oklahoma City. And he said, you are? And he said, what will you do there? And I said, I'm going to start over. I came back to Oklahoma City with a very special kind of determination and hope, kind of a rejuvenation. I thought, wow, the most famous architect in the whole world said, "You're good enough to work in our office. Do you want to do it?" And I said no. And it just gave me this incredible energy to think, man, that was good, wasn't it? And so I'm going to fast forward to 2008. 2008, boy, you think about 1983 and you think about 2008, there's a lot of similarities. And the market shifted, right? We all felt that shift. And I remember that shift and feeling like, okay, I've been here before. I'm going to go to the closet. That suit of armor is hanging in that same closet, just like it was in 1983. And I'm going to get it out and I'm going to put it on because I know how to deal with this. And so I started thinking, okay, I need to start making a list. I need to have a list of who I'm going to be contacting. I need to think about where we are, when these projects will be done, how do we go forward. So I started strategizing for the next few months or years perhaps. No way to understand exactly what that might mean. I imagined this notion of having the same feeling I had in 1983, which was a horrible sort of gut-wrenching sort of thing. And Jeanette and I were having this conversation one night around the kitchen table, and we were talking about human motivation. We were talking about greed and fear. Greed and fear. Well, I'm not greedy. My dad was a real soft-hearted guy, so I'm not greedy, but boy, do I understand fear. I get that. When something puts the power in you, you start moving, and it makes you motivated to do other things. And that is nothing compared to the fact that I had a 30-year-old company. I had people who depended on me. I had people who had jobs and families. I mean, it will get you going in a second. So on November the 12th of that year, I saw this announcement in a Canadian magazine called Azure. And I'm going to read the ad to you. It says, Evolo Skyscraper Competition. Submission deadline January 19th, 2009, with no limit of site, height, or shape. Architects, engineers, and designers are invited to create new concepts for skyscraper construction. Designs must be technologically feasible and environmentally responsible. This is the actual ad that I saw. I tore it out of the magazine. I circled it, sent it to Denise, and said, hot. I need this information. I'm in a hurry. Please go ahead and find out what you can find out about this competition. I got the information, and I thought, boy, this is going to be great. I'm going to get started on this. Maybe we could win this thing. We'll create some opportunity. It'll be really, really cool. So I realized when I got it that the competition deadline was on January 19th. There was just like 60 days to be able to do something. You had to conceive it, design it, put it together, be ready to do this. And I made that decision and just jumped into it. What I didn't realize, and I'm happy that I didn't, was that it had actually been originally advertised in June of that year. And I'm in November, and so there are thousands of architects all over the world that are already ahead of me, okay? I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad I didn't know that when I started because it might have affected what I'm doing. So I have 69 days to do this. And so on that November 16th I started, and these sketches are a few sketches of some 500 sketches that I did in 69 days. And the search was about something that I thought would be really special for this particular competition. My entry was number 0571. It was due on January 19th. We sent it in. I know there was at least 1,000 entries in this competition, and my chances of winning were very, very slim. And guess what? I didn't win. But something better happened. Something bigger. And it was why we're all here tonight, which is when an idea comes to pass and how excited and spirited that can be. I had an idea about using what we all know and love in Oklahoma, which is the wind. And is there a way to harness that and to use that? And the reality is that Oklahoma City is the second windiest place in the United States. The first windiest is Dodge City, Kansas. The average wind speed in Oklahoma City is 12.2 miles per hour, 365 days a year. What we also know is that buildings are energy hogs. And Ken Yang wrote a wonderful book about skyscrapers and determined that literally 50% of the world's energy is consumed by buildings. Now, as an architect, that's a huge responsibility. I mean, imagining sort of dealing with that and facing that every day. But what I want to emphasize about this particular idea is that really it's inspired by something that's around us and is, in fact, a building that is shaped by the wind. And so I had this opportunity to develop this. We submitted it sort of the day after I went to Stillwater and met with my friend Boone Pickens. And I said, Boone, what do you think? And he goes, it's pretty crazy. And I said, well, I know that, Boone, but what do you think? And he goes, well, I think it has some potential. What do you want? And I said, I don't want anything. I just wanted to share this with you. And he said, I want you to come down to meet Ray Harris at Mesa Power, and we'll talk about the potential of this. And they felt like it had tremendous potential. And then last year, at this same time, I had the pleasure of being here in a different capacity. And we received the Journal Record Innovator of the Year Award in 2010. And it just gave me this enormous amount of courage to go forward, and that, hey, here's an idea that if I pursue might really come to pass. And so that's how I found my introductory person tonight, David. Where's David? Thank you, David, my patent lawyer. And I'm going to go backwards. And we set about to do this, and we've worked with Oklahoma State University on this particular point of view. But here is really what I want to kind of talk about. And that is the moral to the story. And I have 5 things I want to share with you. The first one is that fear is a great motivator, and I know that, and I'm sure many of you do as well. It causes you to go outside of your comfort zone, kind of like standing up here, you know, like you're in the circus. And so it puts you someplace else. But there are also new opportunities. You talk and you learn things about yourself and the things that you feel like are better. It makes you think, it makes you stretch, it makes you imagine something that has not yet happened. Number 2 is that change causes change for all of us. The changes in the economy, the changes in our environment cause people to form new ideas about existing conditions, and that's a very exciting thing. Many of you are involved in this very same thing. The next one is really about the notion of reacting. And this is one of my favorite points, and probably the most important point I would make tonight, which is this idea that the best ideas come from reacting to what's right around you. I mean, it's within arm's length. It's all over. It's just right there. But the point is, you have to be paying attention. It's all there. All the ideas are out there, and you just need to be recognizing them. The fourth one is that you are responsible for you. No one's going to take care of you. No one's going to make sure that you brush your teeth every day. You have to do that. And the whole point is that whether you live in New York City or Oklahoma City, you control your own destiny. You make those choices. And so New York City, Oklahoma City, I pick Oklahoma City. And the reason I pick Oklahoma City is because this is a city with incredible spirit, pioneer spirit, and this notion that we have no limits. And that's a rare commodity. So, I am so happy that I stayed in Oklahoma City. I'm thankful that Philip said it's okay to come up here and decided not to. Because in Oklahoma City, you can make your dreams come true. Thanks very much.